Sixers fans, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Lawrence Arnell, and this is Sixers City, where we talk 76ers basketball. Sixers versus the Hawks last night. Sixers versus the Hawks in what looked like a real NBA game, right? The starters were out there. They were getting busy. I got a report here from Sam DiGiovanni, Sixers insider we all know and love. The Sixers defeated the Hawks in their fourth preseason game of the year. Again, fun game to watch. Obviously, Jared McCain stepped up big time. He has really been showing the value that both Nick Nurse and Joel Embiid have made comments about him. Joel Embiid called Jared the best player in training camp, and it looks like Nick Nurse is confident in Jared McCain and giving him a shot. Looks like the kid's got the shot that we need him to have. Still some questions about his athleticism, and he's going to have to make some improvements on the defensive end. But all in all, a good showing for Jared McCain last night. But I got a report here from Sam DiGiovanni, who we all know and love. 76ers takeaways from the preseason game against the Hawks. A little story he did. I think this is from Clutch Sports. The Philadelphia 76ers faced the Atlanta Hawks in the final stop of their multi-game road trip of the preseason. The Sixers pulled out a win, 104-89. That's a win, right? Sheesh. In a game that featured rotations that more closely mirror the regular season, is what I said. It looked like a real NBA game, unlike the last couple of games. Last game where they just started, like the third stringers were out there. All of the starters sat out that game. Now, we talked about this. Joel Embiid officially will not take the court for the Sixers until the regular season, undergoing a treatment plan while his team finishes out the preseason. After holding out a lot of the veterans on the second night of a back-to-back, on Saturday, the rest of the roster was made available for this game, including Tyrese Maxey and Paul George. The 76ers continued their streak of playing out of the ordinary preseason games from playing a team from another league and then playing without their real broadcast. I still don't understand how they allowed that to happen. Then playing without most of their regular season roster, and now dealing with a shot clock malfunction after the first 5 minutes of the game. I didn't catch the beginning of the game. I didn't tune in until about the second quarter, so I didn't see that. But that doesn't sound out of the ordinary for what's been happening this preseason, right? Here are the three takeaways from their exhibition match with the Hawks. Number one, Paul George makes some more shots before exiting early, and we're going to get knee-deep into the Paul George injury situation in a few minutes here. After an impressive first appearance with the Sixers, George played his first game with his new team that was actually televised and not just made available on a terrible League Pass stream. League Pass. All right. NBA. NBC Sports, Philadelphia. Y'all really dropped the ball with that first game. In front of way more sets of eyeballs, PG8 had a decent game playing only the first half, and then suffered a brutally unfortunate injury. That is an understatement, in my opinion. Okay, I think this is going to be a bigger deal than a lot of people are making it out to be, but we'll get to that. George stepped into a triple off a double drag screen for Philly's first points of the night. He ran the offense here and there, but also deferred to Maxey often. I think we're going to see a lot of that during the season. Well, maybe not a lot of it. I don't know. Right? Are we going to see a lot of anything this season? I guess we'll get around to that. In his 12 minutes of action, he scored 8 points, 3 for 5 shooting, while adding 2 rebounds and an assist and a steal. Unfortunately, George left this one early after his knee buckled too far on a defensive possession in the second quarter. He was subbed out, walking to the bench under his own power. The team said later that he suffered a hyperextension. It is fortunate that he walked off the court on his own. That's good to see. We like that. In the story from ESPN's Tim Bontemps that mentioned Embiid doubting his availability for back-to-backs, Daryl Morey added that George will also probably sit those out too. and that the team will be smart about how it manages its veteran stars. Now that George is already dealing with something coming into the season, the Sixers will certainly be extra careful with the veteran forward. 2, Tyrese Maxey stumbles out the gate, regains composure, because Tyrese Maxey is a star. Because this is Maxey season. All right? We saw him make the All-Star game last year. We're going to see Tyrese Maxey make the superstar team this year. I expect an All-NBA season from Tyrese Maxey this year. Dyson Daniels did a great job defensively against Maxey, staying in front of him and using his longer frame to disrupt whatever he tried to do. The Hawks also shrunk the floor against Maxey, whose solution was to target an inferior defender. Kobe Buffkin, that's a name. Buffkin? That's not even a guard's name, that's a forward's name. Kobe Buffkin, which immediately resulted in 6 points, 4 of which came from close range. This helped Philly get rolling after scoring just 3 points in the opening 5 minutes. It doesn't sound like I missed much by not tuning in until the second quarter. Opposing teams are not only going to stick their best perimeter and or guard defender on Maxey, but implement game plans to neutralize him. You're going to have to, because the kid's a star. That's why you have to do that. That's what you do to a star, right? He has to get a feel for what to do when the defense isn't allowing him to do what he does best. The coaching staff helped free him up after seeing his early struggles, which corrected the pitiful course of the Sixers started the game on. Another important area to work on is passing, which he displayed on a lob to Andre Drummond, timing it expertly before he even began to leave the floor. Maxey was left to create mostly for himself after George was removed from the game in the second quarter. Okay, we're going to see a lot of this. We're going to see Tyrese Maxey out there having to do a lot of this stuff for himself because we're going to be resting George and Embiid. It's a fortunate situation that we have a third star to lean on in a situation like that, but I don't know. We're limping into the regular season. We usually limp out of the regular season. We're limping into it now. So we really got a different set of concerns on our hands now. The final stat line for Maxey in 27 minutes, 14 points, 7 assists, 2 rebounds. That's good. All right, 2 steals, 5 for 18 shooting from the field. It was far from his best game, but he displayed an ability to adapt and refuse to be game planned out because he's a star. That's why. All right, that's what stars do. They adapt. And Tyrese Maxey he's shown a resilience. He's shown an interest in being a better player. And he's definitely put the work in. All right, Sam DiGiovanni's third take from last night's game. The Martins look good off the bench. After starting 2 of the Sixers' previous preseason games, Caleb Martin was brought off the bench in favor of Eric Gordon this time. Okay. He was billed as Philadelphia's starting power forward when the report broke of him joining the team, so it was a head-scratching move. I don't know. I guess Nick Nurse feels the need to try some different lineups because we're going to be in a lineup shifting sort of situation ongoingly, right? We're not going to have a standard starting 5, it looks like, because you got guys who we know we're going to be resting. So, yes, it's going to take some shakeups in the lineup. It's possible that Caleb Martin will not be our starting forward every game. I expect at some point Gershon Yabusele to start making his way into the lineup as a starting power forward, spending more time. I foresee Gershon Yabusele adapting his game and eventually making it into the starting lineup. I like Caleb Martin off the bench. I like him off the bench a lot. He's got a lot of heart. He's got a lot of spark. He can get going, and he's tenacious, especially on defense. He's good on. He doesn't give up. Caleb Martin doesn't give up on the game. We saw that a lot in Miami. I think we'll see that a lot in Philly. Martin was still in the first batch of substitutions along with Kyle Lowry and Gershon Yabusele. He got some chances to defend Trae Young and managed to draw an offensive foul for a stiff arm. Again, Caleb Martin doesn't give up. He's got the dog, and that's what we need, especially off the bench. I think that's even more important off the bench than it is from a starter. The Sixers switch ball screens to keep someone in front of Young at all times, but Martin, whenever they were both in the game, was his initial matchup. Additionally, Martin hit 2 of his first 3 shots and created an open triple for Yabusele, getting into the paint and drawing another defender. He recorded 7 points, 4 rebounds. 4 rebounds is huge, right? That's a big deal. 2 assists in 20 minutes. I like that. Having a player like Martin off the bench would be huge for the Sixers. The problem is that it requires starting somebody else. Probably someone too flawed to be a starter throughout the season. If Gordon is the next man up, the Sixers will have better spacing on offense, but not as much juice on defense because Caleb Martin is a dog, and you really need him out there, right? Wherever Caleb plays, though, he's bound to have an impact. KJ Martin, meanwhile, is almost certain to come off the bench for the Sixers. He's not even really certain to be on the team that long. There's a lot of talk about Caleb Martin being used as a trade piece. That's why they gave him that $7 million to be able to do something with him in midseason. Quite frankly, because we still need a real power forward, I can see that trade happening somewhere midseason. I don't know who we get for him, but I'm pretty sure that that's happening. He showed that his defense and athleticism make him worth playing, staying down, and disciplined in his stance at all times and sticking by his man even through screens. He also finished a few lobs from Lowry in a layup fashion, running the floor well. KJ Martin is an extraordinary athlete. He is very athletic. He still doesn't look like he's got the jump shot we want him to have. And again, I think this is why we're eventually going to see him traded before the season is out. If KJ Martin finishes the season as a Sixer, I'll be very surprised. The Sixers' next game and final home matchup of the preseason is on Wednesday night against the Brooklyn Nets, which we all know I already have tickets for, and I'm actually kind of salty because I don't know who we're going to get to see, right? I don't know who I'm going to get to see tomorrow night because Paul George is hurt. He's not going to play. He's going to miss maybe a week. I don't know if mid-30s guys hyperextending their knee is I don't know if we actually get him out for just a week or if maybe he misses if he misses the opening game against the Bucks. We'll see. All right. But Paul George's injury is not an insignificant thing. Okay. This is I got video of it here. I don't even really want to watch this. All right. Paul George hyperextends his knee here. This is a defensive possession. And my man I was really disappointed when I saw this replay of this because it's like the silliest sort of injury. This is the kind of injury a baby gets when they're learning how to walk, right? Like you don't know where the floor is quite. And for an elite athlete to suffer this sort of injury, it's self-inflicted, and it's just a question of some carelessness, right? Just not being careful about where you move. And obviously, we're in the heat of action. It's a basketball game. These guys are trying to get pumping. Paul George made some comments about before he played his first preseason game about really wanting to get out there, get his heart pumping, stress himself a bit, see where he's at physically and what his readiness is. And here we are. He hasn't figured out where the floor is. It's kind of disappointing. I got the hater report posted a dope meme, Homelander, 76ers fans watching Paul George hurt his knee before the season even starts. I don't love it. I don't love that Paul George has hurt himself already. I don't love that we're starting the season hurt, but he sounds confident that he's not as hurt as he thinks he is. All right. Philly Sixers Galaxy posted this quote from him. Obviously, I'm in a new organization. I'm trying to build. We've got so much with growing pains and only so much time to learn and try to figure each other out. So it stinks. It's unfortunate. But again, I'm not too concerned going forward of what this injury is. It'll just be a little time. This is nice to hear from Paul George. It's nice to hear that he doesn't think he's as hurt as he could be. A hyperextension is not really an injury itself. It's just kind of what happened to his knee. The injury would be if he tore something in the process of hyperextending his knee. We don't have an actual injury report on him, but we do have an understanding that something like a hyperextended knee is usually only a week-long thing. Here's my thing. We are starting off on the wrong foot, no pun intended. But the Sixers do have some depth. We have some guys who we feel like we can trust, and I don't think this is the nail in the coffin, right? It's too soon to tell, but I think we'll be okay, especially considering we were planning on load managing these guys anyway. Load management is the four-letter word in NBA basketball these days, but it is not a thing we're going to be able to get away from. I don't love it. None of us loves not knowing who's going to be playing, buying tickets. I specifically chose not to buy season passes this year because I don't like the idea of paying for all those games in advance just to have the team decide who's going to play on a night-to-night basis. So I don't have season passes, and God love you if you do. It's really disappointing to get down to the stadium and find out that, you paid all this money to get in there and you're not going to see all the guys that you really like to see play. So the Sixers are in a decent spot talent-wise, depth-wise, decent enough to let these guys rest. And it's early enough and apparently not a serious enough injury for us to all be worried about whether or not Paul George will be useful to us this year. I think we made so many strides in this offseason with the signings that we made. We've made so many. One of the few things we talk about signing Paul George and getting rid of Tobias Harris and how it is an automatic upgrade. And that's facts. I had a conversation me and my wife were talking about last night. Andre Drummond coming to the team and the huge upside, the huge increase it is over Mo Bamba. I think that's something else we miss out on. We spent a lot of time focused on Tobias Harris and how disappointing he was for us as a player and what we feel like we lost by not having him on the team, and the improvement that we made in picking up Paul George in his place. I think Mo Bamba, as Joel Embiid's backup last year, was a huge backslide, and picking up Andre Drummond is probably an even bigger increase, a bigger improvement in that situation for this team than Paul George over Tobias Harris, right? Because Tobias Harris will give you 17, 18 points. Paul George is good for what, 22, 23 last year? 5 points? Fine. But the big difference between putting Mo Bamba out there to back up Joel Embiid versus putting Andre Drummond out there is way more impactful, right? There was a play last night, Andre Drummond and Kelly Oubre Jr. went up for a rebound, and Kelly kind of snatched the rebound away from Andre Drummond. And it was so funny because Andre Drummond takes his rebounding game so seriously, something that we have not had on this team. A player who actually takes rebounding the ball incredibly seriously. He was like disappointed. You could see him stop. He even dropped his shoulders and gave Kelly Oubre. He gave Kelly the head, like, yo, pause. He gave Kelly the head nod, like, yo, man, that's mine. Yo, that's mine. So I like the intensity from Andre Drummond. It's something that we never got from Mo Bamba. I like the dependability of an Andre Drummond over Mo Bamba. And I think that Drummond over Mo Bamba is a far more impactful improvement than even Paul George over Tobias Harris. So that was last night's game. It was great to see the guys get out a win. It's disappointing because they played all those starters, and now I'm going to the game tomorrow, and I don't know who's going to be playing. I might be watching one of them third-string games like we had against Boston. But that's my problem, not yours. All right? Thank y'all for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, you know what to do. The buttons are down there. They're not that. Your thumb is on the screen. Your thumb's on the screen already. Hit the button. Hit the button, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Go in the comments. Let me know how you feel about what's going on with Paul George or whether or not we're going to see him for the opener. And in the meantime, do yourself a favor and get close to God. And whatever you do good first. All right? Peace.